now my privilege to introduce to you the Ugandan Director of Operations, Paul Gibson. Would you please welcome Paul with a warm round of applause.
I knew I was in trouble following that. Osibiotia, Seba Nebo. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This side, they call me Paul Gibson. That side, I'm called Uncle Pablo. More importantly, please allow me to introduce my love of my life and my bride, Janet, which over there they affectionately call Mama Janet. 2 years ago, I was a corporate executive in a Fortune 100 company living here in Danville, enjoying all the benefits and comforts of living in this valley. But then my life changed. Because I must confess that I probably wasn't living every day depending on the Lord for my daily needs. In August of 2008, I went on a short-term missions trip with COG, and it changed my life. I thought I was there just to hang out with my 17-year-old kid, my son, youngest son, Philip. He's here. He was the one trying to get you to carry the cans over here. I thought I was there just to hang out with him. Little did I know the Lord had other plans for me. And if you had said to me then that within 2 years, I would be living in Uganda, I'd have suggested you go visit your therapist. But today we are living in a developing country serving Ugandan orphans, volunteering in a totally, totally different culture. By the world standards, our life is crazy, and it feels that way a lot sometimes. But we are living by faith, through obedience, and trusting in the Lord for all of our emotional, physical, spiritual needs. Now, I've discovered along the way that, when we put our lives in His hands, and we are obedient, and we understand that He's given us time, He's given us talents, and He's given us resources. And when we use all of those, combined and together, that He can bless us and have a life for us far beyond anything that we can ever imagine. But this tonight is not about Jana or I or our journey. This is about a night for the children of Uganda. The boys and girls over there, they're orphans, and live a life that's far greater and different, far different than anything that sometimes here in America we have a hard time even comprehending. It's my testimony. It helps us understand a little bit of that. But tonight, for a couple minutes, I'm going to take you through a little group participation to give you a window into what life may be like for the kids that we deal with and that we're involved with. So if you look around the table, I know they're kind of small, but on your little there's a number from 1 to 10. You all have on your name tags. You have a little star inside that number. Inside that star is a number from 1 to 10. If you don't have one, you don't see it, just think of a number between 1 and 10 and go along. So let's teleport ourselves from this beautiful country club in the Central Valley. And now imagine for a moment we're in Jinja, in the southern part of Uganda. And we're going to talk about and experience the lives that our children have. So when I call your number, even just raise your hand for a minute. So let's start with the numbers 3 and 9. Who's 3 and 9? You are an orphan girl, about 13 years of age, and you're married. Not because you wanted to be married, but because your guardian wanted the dowry from your husband. you were worth 3 goats and 2 chickens. Your school days are over. What little school you went to before. And you'll keep turning out kids as your husband dictates. More than likely, he'll have other wives that will bring to the household. And there'll be other kids that will join the extended family. So all the 5s and 6s. Who's the 5s and 6s? You're a boy, about 12 years old. The firstborn among 4 that all live with your guardian in a 1-room mud hut. Similar to what you saw in the video, the pictures from Mike. Each morning as the sun rises, your job is to go in the village and herd the cattle. You're the herdsman, so you take all the cattle and the goats, take them down to get water, and then you go out to the pasture about 4 or 5 kilometers away. At dusk, you return home, tired, hungry, knowing you'll probably do this every day. Probably every day of the rest of your life. You have gone to school a little bit, but you can't read or write. But you know the income you get from that herdsman helps the family, puts a little food on the table. But you'll probably always be a herdsman, with very few other opportunities presented to you. The 7s and 8s. The 7s and 8s. This one's tough. It's awkward to even talk about it. You're a young teen, a girl, 16, 15, 16. And you're in the sex trade. You're unmarried. You have a 1-year-old and you're pregnant with a 2nd. You prostitute yourself so you can put food on the table for your family because there's no other adult living in that household. But some of the income does pay for the school fees of your younger brothers. Twos and fours. You're an 8-year-old boy who lives with your Jaja, your grandmother. You've done that since your mother died of AIDS. You know, she never mentioned her dad. Maybe he was one of the uncles that came around every so often. Your day begins early, around 5 o'clock. You get up with the little water cans you saw earlier, and you take and go fetch water. 3 or 4 kilometers down the road to the local village well. Bring them home for the family's cooking and washing needs for that day, and then you go off to school. Maybe you have a cup of tea. School is about 4 or 5 kilometers away the other direction, and boy, you're worried today because, am I going to get chased, run away from school because the school fees haven't been paid? You know they haven't, but you're not sure why. You love school. Sometimes, though, you have to go home in the afternoon because your Jaja needs you to help her dig in the garden, which is how she feeds and cooks for the family. But you really do love school. You're just not there very often. Number ones. You represent a 16-year-old boy who had to drop out after 7th grade because your family didn't have any more money to pay for school fees. You scored really well on your national exam that's taken by all of the Ugandan kids. In fact, you even scored almost straight A's. You had every right to go to secondary school. Your guardian shopped around for some school fees for several months, but didn't happen. You've been able to find a little work. You're a porter for a local construction site. You make about $1.25 a day. But they feed you lunch. Probably the only hot meal you get for the day. You're worried the job's about to be finished. Not sure where the next one's going to come from. Number 10s. Any 10s? You're the fortunate ones. You're about a 15-year-old girl. You finished junior high school and you're really excited about applying for a scholarship to continue high school and then in the university for that college degree that you really want. At the age of 8, You had to move in with your uncle because both of your parents died of AIDS. But there was no more money at that point for fees. So you didn't go to school for a while. But then a pastor told your uncle about an organization named Children of Grace that might be able to help. Since then, you've been able to attend school and even go to local clinic when you've gotten sick because of a lovely lady named Karen that you've never met has paid your school fees through these years and has sponsored you through the COG programs. You've had the opportunity to attend camp, and you love it when your mentor comes around. Her name is Sylvia. And she comes around just to hang out and give you encouragement and to help you in whatever you need. You love the letters you get from Mama Karen, as you call her. And you also like to write to her a few times a year. Look around the room at the children of Uganda. This is what we live and work in every day.